This is episode 10 of the podcast, you guys. This is this is how we're starting the episode. Fuck it.
Wait, did I?
Yeah, sure. I'm Tony. That's Sam.
I'm Sam.
And that's Brian.
Yo, this is like
I'm
zero
not.
energy, and I'm not digging it, fellas. I need you guys to wake up, stand up, and get it started.
Do some jumping jacks. Do some hey,
up.
everyone who's
Girls,
watching,
sit up.
everyone who's watching right now, do push-ups right fucking now. Do 20.
No,
Go.
you don't have to swear at
Everyone
them.
do it.
That's not how you get people motivated.
No, it works.
150 push-ups.
Sam, have you seen Umbrella Academy?
Yes, I have.
All right. I was talking to some coworkers about it the other day, and it made me think, like, hey, we never talked about that in the podcast.
Umbrella Academy? It's such a good show.
yeah. Whoa! Spoiler alert warning. If you don't want Umbrella Academy or the Marvel Cinematic Universe spoiled for you, skip to this timestamp.
14 minutes and 38 seconds.
Thanks.
The last episode I saw of Umbrella Academy was he was stopping the paradox, I believe. He kept going through the phases, and it was some lady. I think she had blonde hair. He was in a school, and oh my god, what happened? At some point in time, he ended up grabbing a grenade. That's about all I remember. It's been so long since I watched it. So, yeah.
That was definitely the second season.
Yeah.
SpongeBob second
that-
season. I mean, not SpongeBob. Anyway,
I was like, what?
I just wanted to talk about the time travel specifically in that show, how that works, because I was thinking about it at work, and it doesn't really make sense to me, because they presented it in two different ways. One way was if you go back in time, you can see your past self, or if you go forward in time, you can see your future self. But then there's a part at the very end of the second season, he just reverses time as everyone is.
Yeah,
Like-
for everyone.
Yeah, for everyone. So like he's moving backwards. He's not like moving time backwards around him. He just moved all time backwards. Like everyone's moving
Technically, that
backwards.
is moving time backwards all around him.
Well,
He took his current time period and tossed it backwards altogether.
well, what I'm
Are you
saying,
talking
himself
about
didn't
the
go
beginning of the show?
what I'm saying is he's not staying static while the whole world goes back in time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go back, or it just doesn't really make sense to me, because if you become younger, if you're turning back time and you yourself become younger as you go backwards, shouldn't that mean you only have a limit to how far you can go back, or like to when you're the very first second that
So
you're alive?
are you asking, is it just going to actually reconfigure your body altogether, like your brain function and everything?
Well, because how it works is, if you go back far enough to before when you were alive, you just stay the age you were at the time of starting that, of doing that go back in time, and because that just doesn't make sense to me, you know, because it just kind of, I feel like it should be, if time travel works that way at all, it should work like that all the time. It's kind of inconsistent in how and how time travel works in that show.
I mean, it's a neat little trick, though. Like, let's say, you have to have a massive amount of power to turn back time for everybody to a certain period of time. But after you flip that switch, you go back to that time period. Everybody goes back to that time period. But there are a few years, few days, few whatever younger. Or you have the option of you yourself going forward in time, and that's either going to change you altogether. No, wait, no. Wait, scratch that. It's just going to take your present self to either the future or the past. But you still have to go back to your time period at some point in time. Time is an enigma.
Yeah, it's a.
It,
I mean, they did a lot with that show where, I mean, when you had the briefcase, you didn't, you know,
Yeah.
age or anything like that. But Five seemed
Which-
to have the ability to move himself through time, but only
The-
when he knew he wasn't there.
but the like the briefcase thing makes sense. Like it's a piece of technology, right?
Yeah.
So it would make sense for that to like if you're touching it, it keeps like your current self how it is instead of aging you one like forward or backward. I feel like they should have just stuck with one and like went with that though, because the way Five can do it, he can do either or. Like if he goes back far enough, then he just stays his current self, which makes it. But by the way, I'm not at all saying this show is bad because I love the show. I do really enjoy watching it. It's very entertaining. It's just when you think about the time travel, to me it just doesn't make sense at all because it makes it's inconsistent. The time travel rules are like inconsistent in that show, and it just fucks up everything. But and it like creates a lot of plot holes, therefore, which again I'm not really worried about just because it's an interesting show anyway. It's just kind of doing its own thing in terms of the time travel. I just thought that was an interesting thing to bring up.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept they did with the time travel and everything. I mean, and like you said, it definitely cannot make sense at times. But sometimes, I mean, other than the briefcases, I guess it really just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's weird. The soundtrack, however, is
It's
fucking
phenomenal.
amazing.
Excuse me. Sorry.
No, I agree with you, Sam. I just came as well. I fucking love the
Wow.
music in that.
It's that good, Sam.
It's interesting because I had just started listening to like 60s and 70s rock before I started watching the show, and like I was able to like pick out songs that I recognized from from just music that I've heard like before that. Like the Kinks were part of the soundtrack. What's that one song? Golden Brown.
Oh yeah, but what's the band?
I don't remember who did Golden Brown.
Hold up. Is that the first season?
Golden Brown is the second season. The Stranglers. Golden Brown by the Stranglers.
Yep, there it is.
Yep. And then there's just a handful of songs in there that
Sister of Pearl is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a good soundtrack. I just really enjoy that type of music. It's
My favorite thing
cool
is
to-
they've set it up for a third season, which I'm really excited for.
Yeah, I wonder how that's gonna work out.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be even more fucky than the last two.
Yeah, because even we were talking about this before. Since like the other like there's like a whole new Umbrella Academy squad, and since Ben is still alive and he's there, that must mean they're just okay. See,
I can't tell if he's evil.
The time travel thing like messes with my brain because I can't tell if like they're supposed to be like, okay, this is them in the current time, like they exist in this timeline and that's it. It's just them as they are and they don't have like extras.
It's no.
Like is
What
it,
is-
like do they exist twice in that timeline now, or is it do they exist just once in that timeline?
I'm
Does that
sure
make
they
sense?
exist in that timeline, and or they. What I think they're going for is so It's kind of the Marvel logic in time travel where it's like when you go back in time and do something, you create a different future for yourself. You don't actually change the past. You create a different present. Um
What?
so when you come back, you didn't actually exist in the present that you're in. You existed in the past of the present that you're
Oh,
in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
but wait,
when they
in
come back,
There's more.
so Ben would have never died because the original Umbrella Academy would never have been formed. Ben was still chosen, but those children weren't chosen because they didn't exist.
so what you're saying is they basically jumped into a different timeline than the one that they're from?
No. Okay, so it's the same timeline. It's okay. This is where
Different outcome.
yeah, it's a different outcome. Because the way I think they're explaining it is you can't go to the past, change the past, and go back to the same or to a future or a different timeline. When you go to the past and change the past, that past becomes your present.
So
Oh,
when
yeah,
you
here.
so when you change the past, if you go back to quote unquote present time, it's not actually present time for you anymore. That's your future.
Kind
Yeah.
of.
Okay, Tony. Here.
So
Let me paint
that
a picture.
past, so
Let
the
me paint a
past. Wait,
picture
wait,
in
wait,
your
wait,
head.
wait. So the past that you changed is now your present. Is that what you're saying?
Repeat that. Sorry.
The past,
Right.
like when you went to the past and you changed the events, that became your present, correct? As soon as you
Mm-hmm.
changed the past. Okay, but when they went back, did they exist? Well, that's weird because in Umbrella Academy they weren't born when they changed the past. They weren't born yet. In Marvel though, in the Marvel movies, they did exist, and they and fucking Captain America literally fought himself. Like,
Yeah.
so what happens then? Like, cause there's two, they exist twice in that timeline. If they
Mhm.
change the past and they go to the present, their current present or their past present, if that makes sense, which is now their future. Does that what happens to their other selves?
They don't exist.
So did they just disappear when they went back and change the past?
Pretty much. Well, we don't know where they're going with it yet because we don't, we haven't seen who those people are or where this season's going. But that's what I'm assuming is they're not going to
But
exist.
but
That's
wait,
why that Umbrella Academy appears to be different. Not to mention Vanya gave that little child powers, so
fucking oh yeah, I forgot about that. What the fuck, Vanya? What's gonna happen with that? Is that kid gonna be a part? Is he a part of the new Umbrella Academy?
I have a feeling he
What way
is.
to find out?
Oh shit. Wait, that would mean he's like way older though, wouldn't that? Because he was
Not
young,
way older.
but that
Let's
was
see.
because they went back to was it the 60s or the 70s?
It was the 60s.
Well, they each went back like different amount of years.
Yeah, but not drastic amount of years. It was
Yeah, I
like
know.
1 to 2 years
So it
between.
was the 60s, but that was before they were born. They were born in the 80s, weren't they?
No, they were born in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
The 90s. Interesting. What? So does Umbrella Academy, or does quote unquote current day Umbrella Academy, so
Takes
like,
place in pretty much quote unquote current day in real life.
but that well, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense actually. Yeah, that makes sense. So they'd be in their like 20s.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Uh sorry if this like doesn't make sense to any of you, but like time
We should
travel is
also
just
put a spoiler warning thing.
Oh, I will. For both Umbrella Academy and Marvel. the Marvel.
I mean, the Marvel
Cinematic.
movies have been out long enough.
That's
I mean, the second
true,
season of
but
Umbrella Academy came out.
I mean
this
that's
last
true,
year.
but I might as well, if I'm putting one for Umbrella Academy, I might just mention.
That's true. If you
Yeah.
haven't seen Endgame yet, phenomenal movie.
Long movie.
Phenomenal.
Long movie, yes, but good movie nonetheless.
It's a pretty good movie. I think I enjoyed Infinity War more though. I don't know. I mean, Endgame was definitely more epic, but I don't, something about Infinity War I liked more.
Mm. Oh, speaking of Marvel stuff, WandaVision came out this Friday. It was this last Friday. First 2 episodes, very, very weird, but I really did enjoy it. Like it was
The
it-
WandaVision comics are weird.
well, yes, the WandaVision comics are weird, but like the show, it felt so well done. It feels like a 50s, 60s kind of show, you know?
A sitcom, a 60s
Yeah.
sitcom.
It's got even like the cheesy like studio audience and just the humor that was good at the time, but definitely not good now.
It's a completely different type of humor.
Yeah, it's it's just oh my god, it's and even like this the whole first 2 episodes are in black and white, and the only thing that shows color is red.
Interesting. I've always wondered how they do that. Like I'm sure because I've heard of like films that instead of just like filming it regular and then making it black and white in post, I've heard of like and this might have just been one film that did this, but like they painted everything just completely black and white, and they put black and white like grayscale makeup on the actors, on the characters, and like
Huh.
so everything was manually made grayscale. Like everything had to be like exact grayscale, and that's how they filmed it. They
Weird.
they didn't take out color. They just did it like that manually,
Mm.
which is interesting. I
It is.
wonder if they filmed it in color and then just did that, or the
I think
other
they
way
filmed
around,
in black and white.
and then just like added the color in post.
Well, no, because the original black and white kind of cameras, I'm pretty sure, like the originals that they used to film with, I think they did pick up red color because that's a prominent feature in some movies. Is like red things will be red, but the rest of it's black and white. It was a special type of camera, but I don't know how they did it or why they did it. But yeah, it's really cool the way they're doing it so far.
Interesting.
Like at the end of the because it's all about Wanda having her mental break and recreating Vision, and there's at the end of each episode, they're only 30-minute episodes.
Black and white.
At the end of each episode you see like little bits of the real world, and you can kind of hear things. You don't see anybody yet, but you can hear things like, and there's a lot of tiny little Easter eggs that I love picking apart in these kinds of things. And oh my god, it's just so good. And at the end of the second episode, spoiler warning,
Skip to 19 minutes and 45 seconds.
they go into the 70s, so everything gets colorized. Like, she sees something and she's just like, no, and she just fast forwards time. And they're in the 70s and everything's in color. All their furniture changes to like a 70s style. Their outfits change, and then
I love 70s aesthetic.
she's pregnant.
Interesting.
And it's just like, what?
All right.
Oh yeah, but I definitely recommend checking that out.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of special cameras, I recently just learned this interesting fact. There is a very special camera. One one of these cameras has only been made in the world, successfully made, I should say. The camera they used for Mary Poppins, the like really old like animated one. I don't know when that was filmed, but it was basically this thing where and film used to be this like really complicated process. Like now you
Mm-hmm.
can just CGI things in like using
Which is still a process.
yeah,
Don't get me
it's
wrong.
still it's still a process and it's still amazing, but like when you learn about how people did visual effects in film, like actual physical film, like they had to cut out like little pieces of the background and then insert another piece of film on top.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had to just cut everything out perfect. It's learning about that shit is just so interesting to me. Um but basically this camera was designed basically so they could do green screen without actually being able to do green screen, you know. They were able
Mm.
to the way the light like bounced off this like crystal that they had inside the camera, this like special mirror they had or whatever. Um and that's what was so unique about it, that crystal in the middle in the camera. They were never able to recreate that. To this day, no one's been able to recreate that camera. So that is like, I don't know where that camera is now, but that was like the only one of its model that has ever been made. I just think that's really fascinating.
That, yeah, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, I'd have to look up some information about it to talk more about it, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they talked about it on one of the Corridor Digital I think it's VFX Artists React that series. Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I love film. I just love movies and TV in general because, like, I don't know. I love to read and I love to see these things that I read and have read before come to life on a screen and, like, actually, like, don't get me wrong, the books do them justice, but, like, sometimes these movies can just add so much more to the universe, you know?
Yeah. And they do take liberties which I used to kind of think like, oh, they should stay faithful to the book and whatever, and I think
Hmm.
to some degree that should be a thing, but I also do like when when directors take liberties,
Liberties.
because it's not just an exact copy of the book.
The book.
Like it has some creative freedom, it has something added to that
Mhm.
makes the universe, that makes the story.
Makes it unique.
Yeah, right. So it's not just like it's not just this strict copy paste of the book onto
Mhm.
screen. It's and they do have to like change some things around because of like their limitations, or just like certain complications that come up. They do have to change them, which is
Yeah.
understandable. Just kind of things you can't really control. You just kind of have to deal with it and kind of get creative with it. I think that's very interesting.
Mhm. For sure.
Very cool process. Do you have
Uh,
anything you would like to talk about Lumacity?
One of the biggest things that set me off when I was out and about was you know me, I listen to crowds of people and hear what they have to say and whatnot, and they immediately stopped the person from progressing to wherever direction that they were going. I don't know where they were going, and they said, "Stop! You shouldn't be here." And I was like, "What does that mean?" I don't know if these people have history. I don't know whatever else, but I was like, "Dang, you just gonna stop somebody abruptly and tell them that they cannot be here?" I mean,
We're
like, well, this was God, where were we? We were in Wisconsin.
Was it just like on the street? Like, was it in a
It was like
store?
outside. It was outside of a store.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, what the heck?
Speaking of people stopping another person, there's one time I was at the mall buying pants for work, and this one dude. I don't know if any of you have seen any of these people out in public or have been stopped by one of these people, but it was this guy with this like pamphlet about like just like this Christian pamphlet that's like, do you
Oh
follow
no.
Jesus? Do you pray to God every night or something like
Well,
that?
you should.
And I'm like, and he like stopped me, and I thought it's like, I didn't just walk away because I didn't want to be rude first of all, but also I wanted to see what he had to say, like, I and like I and he kept I don't remember exactly what happened. This was a while ago, but he was just basically telling me he's like, do you believe in God? I'm like, no. And he's like, well, and why is that? And I was like, well, I have a lot of reasons why I don't. I have my own like reason, and he's like trying to get me to go back to my old ways of Catholicism. Cuz I for any of you who don't know, I grew up in a Catholic family. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 6th grade, and then transferred to public schools, 7th grade. And before when I was going to Catholic school, I didn't really know that was like that. I didn't know that was a private school. I just thought it was just it's just a school, right? And I didn't know there were people that, well, I knew there were people that didn't believe in God, but the way I was brought up, it was just that God and Jesus and like all that like religious stuff, it was just common knowledge. I had no idea what religion was. I didn't know that was a religion. I just assumed that like everyone like believed in God, and I assumed that it was just like common knowledge that everyone like this is just history. That's how I saw it because that's how I was brought up. And it was a very interesting revelation when I moved to public schools, and they couldn't like force one religion on you,
Mhm.
obviously, because people come from different religions. Um, and it's very interesting because in we learned about other religions, like we had religion class when I was at Catholic school, but like I didn't really fully grasp the meaning of religion. And we learned about other religions, like what other people believed in other countries. And of course, they're going to tell us that, those aren't the right ones, that we're the right one. Like
Yeah.
Catholicism, Christianity is the right one.
Obey the Catholic wrath.
The Catholic wrath. Um, but yeah, it's very. I mean, they weren't being like malicious about it. Obviously, it
Yeah.
wasn't like they're wrong and we're right. It was more of like, I don't know. It's just like a matter of fact kind of thing.
You know, the funny thing you talk about religion. My grandfather is, I wouldn't say recently now, a Jehovah's Witness, but you guys know this. I love him to death, obviously family, but just because he is generally a great guy and whatnot. But he confuses, I think personally, I think he confuses the fact of being a Jehovah Witness and uh, kind of coaxing or bringing someone in to the religion, but he confuses it with being the boss because he's a successful black man, owned his own business and everything else and whatnot, and so he's used to being the boss. So it's not kind of like teaching people to what being a Jehovah Witness is. It's more like you should be Jehovah Witness so you can be saved because I said so. And I'm like, okay, thanks. I appreciate that. So every time he sees, he's like, you should be following Jehovah. I'm like, Papa, I don't believe in that. I'm sorry to break your heart, but
It's like
no.
it's like people can't grasp that. like people who are like that, and they go out, and obviously that stuff is a fact to them. It's just a 100%
Yes.
fact.
Yes.
But it's almost like they were kind of sheltered their whole life, the way I was in my childhood until I was brought to public school. It's almost like they were brought
you
up
got
that
us
way to adulthood, and they just still don't understand that like
But
disconnect
the thing is with
between.
my grandfather, he just recently became a Jehovah's Witness, like 2 to 3 years ago.
Just recently.
Yes.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
he's like 100% in it, like.
Yes. I don't know what it like. I have nothing wrong with you, however you believe in whatever religion. Like seriously, I do believe
Yeah,
that's something
right.
you completely agree on. You know that's something that you should like. It gives you hope. It gives you motivation to do what you need to do in life. You know, I definitely agree with it. But when you just get into it and you're just dead set on it, it might be. I don't know. It may be. There's a thing that may or may not be true. With the older you get, the more you get into religion. That might be what I think would happen personally on my end. But I'm just like, all right, you know. But the fact that he's just now I understand it because he has a little bit more of an understanding for it, but he still is like the boss. His boss aspect kicks in. I'm just like, you can't force somebody into it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like people who are like that have this. They're in a weird spot where they're being very respectful, and they want to help you because they believe that, this, like, come to our religion, this is going to help you in your life. But also it's also kind of intolerant at the same time. It's like intolerant of you having your own beliefs, you know?
You know?
It's like being respectfully intolerant, which is a really weird thing to say, but it makes
A little bit.
sense. Like they have good intentions, they definitely do, but it's intolerant when you're trying to, you know. I understand that you want to help people, but at the same time, you can't try to force it on people. You can't try to shove your religion down other people's throats, because sorry, when
Donate.
I
You
do
need
that, I my brain moves too fast, and then I can't. I have to like pick and choose what to say first. I'm like
Tony,
trying to
honey, I
arrange
need
my.
you to slow down and just choose your words before you speak.
That happens a lot in the podcast. I'll get excited about some subject and I'll go because I'm like trying
Yeah,
to choose between like 4 different things, and I'm like, what? My brain's moving too fast.
you'll keep
How?
how yeah
How?
how you'll go on this tangent of you talking, and then your brain will just stop. And you'll be like,
I remember after I got out of the mall, I got into my car and I like recorded this like thing, this
Oh yeah, because
rant
you sent
that I
that to
put on
me.
I put it on my story. I put that rant on my story, and I had to record it like 4 different times because I was talking so much about it that I would just like run off the time limit that you could like
Yep.
record at one time. I had to try to squeeze everything I was trying to say into that like time frame. It's just that thing is so weird to me, and it was very surreal switching to public schools and realizing that, because before, not believing in that religion, not being Catholic, was bizarre to me. It was like, how can anyone not believe in God? Like, that's
I'd
silly.
like to, before we go any further, I'd like to just say this right now so everybody knows what technically today is. It is Martin Luther King's birthday. So
Oh yeah,
I
putting
that's
that
forgot
out
about
there.
true. Today
Yeah,
is
I
his
do want to put that
birthday.
out there. So
Happy
yeah,
birthday, Dr.
Thank you.
King.
yes, just want to put that out there for everybody.
Yeah.
So you know what day we're recording on. Because very much respect for everything that's happened in the past that got us here today.
Yeah. Yeah, he was actually a very a big. I would argue he's probably the biggest, like, um how do you say that? How you say in English, uh
He did that.
I'm trying to find the word to say. I don't. He's probably like the biggest, like, I guess, influencer of
Time period
the
he was in.
equality movement.
Yeah.
How do you? I don't know
Sadly,
exactly
we
how to.
couldn't conduct that in the same way we do today.
Yeah. There's a lot of violence that's happening. Um, Unfortunately, but like we were talking about in the last podcast, all these situations are very complicated, and it's hard to tell what the right thing to do is. Obviously, the most like you want to get through it without any violence, but um, if things get heated enough, one side is eventually going to get violent.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that's just how it
And that's
works.
true of pretty much anything.
It's because everybody has already said everything, so we turn to violence as the next step and or answer.
And it takes both sides to prevent that from happening.
This is true.
So if one side isn't cooperating, obviously the other side is going to think that, violence is the only way. And that sucks. There's not really anything you can do about it though. It's just kind of
Shit.
it's there, and it happens, and it just sucks. It just fucking sucks.
Of course
Mhm.
it does.
Sorry we get kind of dark there.
But sometimes the dark stuff is also real, and the light stuff is also
Yeah.
real. You really can't deny or avoid that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about before?
You going to public school after going to Catholic school and everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember it was a surreal experience. Just learning that.
That's it.
Oh no.
That's all.
I will say, from my experiences from going to school, I definitely have gotten. Let's see. Hold on. Wait. Guilford. I went to 7 different schools.
7. I've only been
7.
to 4 different
We moved.
schools.
We moved. My family moved around a lot, so we went to different schools, different areas, and whatnot. So I really got to know a lot of different people in the process. But Korean Baptist and Lutheran and Christian life. It's literally all technically 3 different religions, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And how they would teach me. So I really couldn't. I won't say I couldn't choose one per se, but like it kind of opened my eyes to how people see things and how they want to like attach themselves to different parts of life. And I was kind of like, well, that's a neat way to look at it. And I think that kind of separated me from getting 100% into a religion myself, because I see so many different pieces that come together to make a religion.
There's so many different variations.
Yeah.
That
like-
it's impossible to choose just one to be the correct one,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Religion is religion's a funny thing. It's a funny thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I learned in middle school. I learned that from transitioning. It was a bizarre experience because before that had been just fact, and then after it's now like it's clarifying that, like, oh shit, like there are a lot more people than I thought that don't believe in this stuff, because it just it and I thought maybe that was just like a generational thing, like it was just our generation because we're in modern day. Just that, but like going to history class, learning history from around the world, learning that Christianity was younger than a lot of religions actually, and it's a lot more varied too. I was reading a book from, I think, the 1700s. Hold on. Okay, so for one of my classes for college, I had to read the Death of Ivan Ilyich and Confession by Leo Tolstoy. Those are 2 different works by him, but in Confession, it's basically an autobiography, a short autobiography, and he was saying he explained basically exactly what I went through in terms of religion. Like he grew up in a religious family, but when he like talked to other people and got their opinions on it, and like he's like when he started experiencing more of the world, he left the religion and he was kind of denouncing it, but towards the end of his life he went back in the religion. And I've heard so many people do that they eventually go back to Christianity or Catholicism or whatever, for whatever reason. And I thought that was interesting. I think a lot of people see those religions in a way that they're not meant to be presented in. Like I feel like a lot of people have the wrong idea about the religion, or how the
Yeah,
religion
that's a lot.
started.
Mhm.
A lot of people do. Some people do kind of confuse it as like I won't lie. A lot of people make jokes about Jehovah's Witness being like a huge cult and everything, and it's really not. Because I've had a couple of sit-ins because I was really made to go.
Kind of forced into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but I've sat in and whatnot, and there's some things threw me off, and I was kind of like, okay, that doesn't seem like something that I wouldn't say seems appropriate, but doesn't technically seem spot on entirely.
I
Like
know
it
exactly
is
what you mean.
yeah, it's not a bad religion. The only thing I would say that completely like turns me away from even really coming close to become a Jehovah's Witness is that a certain number technically goes to heaven. And I'm kind of like that personally to me doesn't seem right. But at the same time, they have like a contradictory statement that is, uh, Earth becomes a holy place in itself for everybody else to live forever on. I'm like, okay, that's a good way to make up for it, I guess. But at the same time, it's everybody else that is bad dies and they stay buried, basically.
Huh.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you guys might not have known that, but like, yeah, there actually is like a good defining moment for it. But I'm just kind of like that whole not going to heaven thing. I'm kind of like that seems kind of mean.
Yeah.
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 I
And
don't know.
the thing about worshiping God too, I think is interesting, because I mean, and obviously other religions do that too. They worship a god, or several gods, goddesses, deities, whatever, what have you. Um, but the way they describe God in Christianity or in Catholicism is he's this benevolent God that will forgive you for any of your sins, but at the same time he'll send you to hell if you commit too many sins or whatever, if you don't atone for your sins. And it's kind of hard to believe that a God like that can be benevolent. And also, why would that God want you to worship him?
Hmm.
Wouldn't that kind of God be like happier you living your life as you are? Like obviously there are things to live by in that religion that are like, okay, this is how you be a good person, right? And most religions do that. They have like these rules, and this is how to be a good person. But there's a problem with that as well, because being a good person is subjective. Everyone has their own opinions on what a good person is. My one person
Yes,
might think
yes, most definitely.
one person might think being completely truthful no matter what is being a good person, while somebody else believes if you're lying for a good reason, then you're still being a good person, right?
Hmm.
Like, say someone that you did not find attractive at all asks you, "Hey, am I pretty?" And you were to say, "Yes, yeah, you're very pretty." That would obviously be lying, but with good intent.
Yeah.
Because like if you're not wanting to hurt their feelings at all, that's
A
good
white lie,
intent.
if you will.
Right.
I'm
Right.
I'm one of those people that I course, after so many things. I'll tell you the truth regardless. I'll definitely say to me personally, I don't. What you have does not attract me. In all honesty, somebody might, and then I'll probably make another like comment about what they're wearing, say I do like your outfit or something or whatnot. But you are not someone that I would choose to be deemed attractive. Somebody probably does, and I'll probably like I know somebody that does find you attractive, but to me, you're not my type, so don't bring that up with me.
Right. I mean,
I'm
that
go.
that was just an example. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm the same way. I
Mhm.
would prefer, people be straight up and completely honest with me, even if that thing might hurt my feelings.
oh yeah,
Um, I'd want to know, if there's something that I can fix about myself, or if there's something that people don't like, maybe I can change it, or maybe it's just something that they personally don't like, and it, I'm trying to understand, that I shouldn't care so much about what people think about me, because I know that that's a specifically a problem that I have, um is that I tend to worry about how people see me, and though I may not think I'm that way, there are some situations where I definitely think like that, and I'm just trying to work on that.
we all have stuff to work
Mhm.
on.
Yeah, we all have.
Everybody does. I will say, somebody made this comment when I was with a group of friends. Was like, Sam, you're such a good person, and I was like, no, I am not.
Don't tell
I'm
me that.
nice. I was like, I'm a nice person. I'm not a good person. So I
Uh,
think that's one of the when you made your statement of saying somebody who defining who's good and who's bad. The world's based on preference,
yeah,
obviously.
it's all
Mhm.
subjective, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
all like, it's good and bad is even a man-made concept.
it is. Like
Good and bad doesn't actually exist. Nothing really exists in the
world's
way
based on preference.
in the way a lot of people think they exist. It's because us humans have all these concepts, all these abstract concepts to help us grasp things, and be more emotionally, um I guess, stable with one another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. 'Cause, like, if we think of the concept of, some other animals will eat the same species, some people deem like, oh, that's bad. They shouldn't do that because, it's the same species. But on the other hand, other people are like, well, they have to do that to survive. So it's not necessarily
Right.
bad. If you have to do what you
Yeah.
have to do to survive, it's not a bad thing. Because isn't there like some islands where like cannibals live? Obviously.
Yeah, there's cannibalistic islands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, that's bad. Cannibalism. Ah, well, technically, if they've been doing that their whole life, not necessarily bad
Yeah,
There
to
are
and
them.
many tribes in ancient history were cannibalistic.
in those societies it's normal. It's
Mhm.
not bad to them. It's just normal. It's all cultural as well. Good and bad can be very cultural.
Yes.
Like, with Christianity, sex before marriage is such a frowned upon thing. Yet
Mhm.
a lot of people believe in that it's fine. As long as you're being careful with the sex that you're having, y- you know, who cares what you're doing with your body, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessary if it's not hurting anyone, then it's okay. And I do know some Christians specifically that are okay with having sex before marriage. So, and it's very,
Oh.
there are a lot of Christians that like kind of have opposing views to the religion as a whole, with especially, this is going to be kind of a touchy subject, but with homosexuality in
Mhm.
Christianity. That's apparently that's when I was a child, we didn't really like talk about this. We didn't really talk about homosexuality or anything like that. And I'm sure it has come up before, and it was like, man and
So you
woman
probably
were
heard
meant
them
to
brushed
be
off.
together. Yeah,
Yeah.
it might have been like a very, like, subtle like telling of that, but I never thought of being gay as a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cuz like
Love who you want to love.
yeah, because I had known like what being gay was. I'd known about sexuality, like homosexuality. Um I just never really thought of it as a bad thing until there was one time and my mom doesn't think like this anymore, but there's one time on the radio, the Katy Perry song, I kissed a girl and I like it, or I liked it. I think it was like, it was, that song was playing on the radio in the car when we were going home one day, and I was like, I don't remember what I said. It was like, so a girl kissed another girl, and my mom told me that, like, yeah, some people are like that, but that's wrong to do, or she said, or I think she said it's illegal for, because it was illegal for gay couples to be married.
Mm-hmm.
Which I find really interesting, because that was only legalized a few years ago. What was that, like 2016, 2015?
Good
Somewhere around there.
2015, I think. Yeah, it's just that's one of those major things that I'm like, don't bring religion into a body of government.
That
Yeah. Because not everybody feels the same.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Especially a country like the U.S. where you have a freedom of religion in your constitutional rights,
Yes.
but most laws have something to do with Christianity, and it's just like, it's contradicting itself. It's very hypocritical governing style.
It's very, very strict when you bring
Mhm.
religion into it.
Exactly.
Everybody's gonna feel some type of way about something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, of course, now I I'd hope that it's this way. I'm inclined to believe that most Christians are, okay with gay marriage and homosexuality, because it's a much more accepted thing nowadays.
Mhm.
Especially now since gay marriage has been legalized, and all this other stuff coming up, like there there are a lot of things that it's everything's new, I guess. All these new opinions are coming up with um with supporting for LGBTQ rights, LGBTQ plus. That's that abbreviation is a little bit much. I'll
It's almost gonna, it's at this rate, it's the whole alphabet.
yeah.
It gets a little long. It gets a little long.
That's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, I get it. You want to include everything, but
The whole gender identity thing is a mess. I'm just gonna say that. I'm not gonna say anything else on it. I'm just gonna say it's a mess.
we yes, we all have our opinions on things like that. And it's okay. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're not trying to force it on other people.
Exactly.
That's the moral of today's podcast. Is that
Is that
That's it. And we're done. No.
episode 10? Religion and time travel.
Religion, time travel, and how people feel.
time traveling crusaders?
Oh my
Oh,
god!
no.
Fucking mad stuff for somebody.
You
You
would really never expect the Spanish Inquisition. Oh no.
Oh Lord. Now I will say back the whole people thing
Oh,
with religion, sexuality, preference. I think it really does create such a diverse and loving community when things are, well, except not the right word, but I guess it's taken into consideration by the person next to them. I think things would be a
Mhm.
lot easier. People won't have to point the finger all the time. People won't have to just blame whoever they are just because,
If
you know,
people were much more tolerant.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just because somebody's a certain way doesn't mean you have to. Excuse me. Ugh. Excuse me again. You don't have to hate on them so much. Always getting on somebody's butt about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of religion and stuff like that. Uh, I recently watched a documentary on the black metal scene in Norway,
Hmm.
Norwegian black metal, like where that started. That is very interesting. It has a very interesting and a very violent history. I highly recommend you guys go watch it. It's Until the Light Takes Us, I believe. That was
Hmm.
the documentary I watched, and
Where is that documentary?
um I watched it on Amazon Prime. Let's see. This one, Until the Light Takes Us, you can watch it on something called Tubi.
I
You
think
can
Tubi's free.
Yeah, it is. Sling TV, Amazon Prime Video, YouTube.
Oh,
Um
a lot of free options.
well, YouTube isn't free. That's so like
Oh,
from
is it
one ninety
YouTube?
nine. Yeah,
Oh,
just like
okay.
you can just like buy it on YouTube, Google Play
Yeah.
Movies, iTunes. Yeah, I watched it on Amazon Prime. Um, and they actually interviewed a few of the people that were like directly involved in that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and there were a lot of church burnings that happened in that scene, and it was to make a statement. Um, a lot of people kind of pointed to the black metal scene and kind of said Satanists. They believed that they were Satanists, and they were just kind of slapping that label on them because they were burning churches down. Um, but that's not the case. They were never Satanists. They never worshipped Satan. The
Hmm.
reason they burned down churches was because when the Crusades happened, um, the Christians burned down so much of their history. Like they had hundreds and maybe even thousands of years of recorded history that was just all lost to the Crusades.
Yeah.
They burned all that shit down. Now we can't learn about it because of the Crusades.
Hmm.
And I thought that was interesting. And a legitimately like reasonable thing to be kind of pissed about, but at the same time you can't blame modern Christians for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was them making a statement, and a lot of people were just kind of being followers and also burning churches down. So they had like fans burning churches down, spray painting, um, you know, pentagons on the churches, spray painting 666 on the churches, which, because they saw that in the newspapers. They saw
Hmm.
Satanism in the newspapers and they thought, oh, that's cool. I want to follow that. I'm going to be just like them. And then they did that and it like kind of messed everything up. It made black metal look like a satanic
Kind
scene.
of scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's not.
Yeah, or at least the origins of it are not. And
That's another thing.
there's so much crazy shit that happened too. There's one guy, and I think I've told you guys this before. There was one guy in one band. I believe it was the band Mayhem. Uh, it might have been the guitarist or the lead singer or something. He shot himself in the face with a shotgun.
Oh
When
my
Oh.
god.
his roommate, it was like speculated. A bunch of people thought it was like his roommate who was also in the band. A lot of people thought it was his roommate that killed him, but he was actually he was like on vacation or something. I think he like went to go visit family or something, and when he came back, he had to climb through the window to get into the house because nobody was answering the door and he didn't have a key. So when he got in, he saw his roommate's dead body, and instead of his first thought being, "Oh shit, I need to call the cops," he goes, "Okay, hold on. Let me find a camera." He finds a camera and takes a picture of his dead roommate on the ground, or on the bed or whatever, with blood, brain bits all over the place. And that became the album cover of their next album after that. So there's
Oh.
literally a dead guy on as the cover
Whoa.
art for one of their albums. It's a very
guy.
gruesome. Yeah, it's actually a dead guy. And that's shocking. That's what they wanted. They wanted that shock factor, which they got. And
They got it.
I heard, I don't know how true this is, but I heard that he even like collected little pieces of his brain and like put them in jars and gave them to other people in the black metal scene who knew that person as like a what do you call it, like a souvenir of that person. Which, if that's true, that's kind of sick.
Yeah.
But an interesting part of the history. And there's even a murder too that happened. It was all like speculation. Apparently this guy had heard that this other dude in the band wanted to get rid of him, and the easiest way to do it was to kill him. And so this guy actually believed that he was going to die. So what he did is he killed the other guy first.
Oh.
He stabbed him.
Okay.
It was like this whole confrontation. Like it ended up he fucking stabbed him, left him in the street, and just walked away. And he went to prison. I think he's out now. But at the time of the documentary, they were interviewing this guy in prison. And
Huh.
there's so much more that goes into this. I highly recommend you go, like anyone who's interested in that kind of stuff, go watch it. It's gruesome, but it's a very interesting history.
I have
Yeah.
to check that out.
It's dark.
Yeah, very dark. Very
dark. Yes, dark. Dark.
Dark.
in fact, it's black. Black metal.
Black metal.
Yeah.
That's just how dark it is.
Yeah. It's so dark that it's black. Speaking of black, I
Tony, I think we need you to stop saying the word black.
No, really. I recently watched this video. This guy's kind of weird. Like his personality is kind of weird, but he this particular video, it's the blackest paint in the world.
Oh, I know that video. Yeah.
It's like Muzu Black, I think.
Mhm. And then the guy, he created his own black, and then he made his own pink. It's pink or whatever.
Well, this guy, he like the video that I watched. He painted an entire room Muzu Black.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was very interesting to see because apparently that black like absorbs a lot of the light. So if you turn a light on in that room, you'll be able to see, but it's very dim. Like he like showed a before and after, like before the walls were white and it was very bright in there with the same light on Muzu, like a completely Muzu Black room. You could barely see anything. You really take for, well, I wouldn't say take for granted, but like you don't really think about how much light actually comes from the reflections off of everything in the room. The light reflects off of almost pretty much anything and everything, and that's where a lot of the light comes from. Because if there were to be no reflections, the light wouldn't go.
From the sun.
Well, the light wouldn't go very far if it had nothing to reflect off of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you go to the dark side of the moon, it's going to be completely pitch black over there because nothing is reflecting light. Speaking of the Dark Side of the Moon, that's a good album by Pink Floyd. Okay, I'm done with.
This guy.
I'm
With
done.
I'm done with segues for today. We've been
Are you?
recording for about an hour and 15 minutes. If you guys wanna,
Yeah,
if
we can
unless you
end it.
guys, if you guys have anything else, to
I'd
say.
like to say one thing as always before the end of this episode. Well, actually a couple things because now I'm talking to the audience. Brian just tweeted on the Junk Drawer Twitter, so go follow us on there if you guys want to stay tuned with stuff like that. You can also check us out on the TikTok pretty soon, and again on the Instagram. So that's just one other thing that you guys should stay looking for. And from everything that we said today, just know that we ourselves have open minds. We're just sharing our opinions just as you guys would. So if you guys have anything you'd like to say, please put that down in the comments below or message us personally. If you guys would like, that's entirely up to you. We appreciate it. We love the feedback, and we love you guys are always tuning in to us. So thank you so much. I'm Sam.
I'm Tony.
And I'm Brian.
Thank you for tuning in as always. Have a great day, everybody. Adios.
Peace off.
Peace off.
That's the thing that Tobuscus used to